Hi, everyone. This is George Felos. Welcome to Meditation for Lawyers. This is not mediation for lawyers. So invariably, we always have a couple people who look at mediation, meditation, get them confused, which is easy to do. So if you're here for mediation for lawyers, welcome, and I hope you still will stay and join us. And this is also not medication for lawyers. We don't dispense any medication here, although we've had reports of participants producing a little bit more of their own endorphins than they might usually do. And so you don't have to disclose that, but that's perfectly okay as well. Let me stop that. Okay. Well, again, welcome. It's nice to be here with you this morning. We have attorneys from all over the country with us. We have attorneys on the West Coast, so good morning to you. I'd like to acknowledge and thank Will Nickel, who is my IT assistant and associate in this venture, and without whom I would not be doing this because I can't do that myself, or maybe I could, but I'm not interested in doing that. You know, we're here in challenging times with COVID and protests around the country and economic downturn. And this is a great opportunity for you, if you have a meditation practice, to enhance it, and if you don't, to start one. This is the first time that I can remember that the entire globe, the entire planet, is focused on one thing, COVID. And to the extent that we are still herd animals and we are affected by what others think and feel and how they act, these are challenging times for us. And I would recommend to you, last month, we had a webinar, it's a free webinar, Staying Centered in Challenged Times, where we talk about that in much greater depth. That is on our YouTube channel, and I think it's on our webpage as well. If it's not, we'll put it there. I recommend that to you. There are also some benefits from these times. I read an article from a judge in the Second District Court of Appeal here in Florida saying they like virtual oral arguments, although there are hitches now and then. At the beginning of one oral argument, an attorney who had a nice looking suit and tie and white shirt, when the judges said, "All rise," he did, and he was in his underwear. But I rest assured for you, I don't want to put anyone on edge here. I have you covered, or I'll say I'm covered. So what are we here for this morning? What's our goal? In the more profound sense, it's an opportunity to directly encounter our core, our source, our center. And why is that important, and even more important these days? It's because that's where you rest, peace, and rejuvenation comes to us. And it's a different type of restoration and revitalization. And the reason is because the rest and peace and revitalization you experience from your core is not conditioned on outside circumstances. We have a lot of fun, and we go to the movies, enjoy ourselves, rest, go have a nice dinner. I mean, there are a lot of different activities and external events that temporarily bring those feelings of rest and rejuvenation. But the deeper peace that we're seeking, that we want, is not conditioned on external events. And that's what we're looking to encounter here today, and to find a very reasonable, practical way in which to do that. And so that is Meditation. That's the vehicle by which we're going to directly encounter that. So having said all that, that may sound pretty heavy. You're here to relax and enjoy yourselves too. So to whatever extent you can get into the meditations, that's fine. And the instructions, that's fine too. So let's talk a little bit about meditation from the outset to just dispel different things you may have heard about it. I know a lot of people who say, oh, I wish I could meditate. My friends meditate. It sounds so good. I can't. When I sit down, my mind goes wild. I could never stop my mind. Well, the first thing to remember is meditation has nothing to do with stopping your mind. And let me give you a metaphor that I hope will illustrate this. When you look at a painting, there's a foreground and there's a background. Now, it's the foreground that captures our attention. Why? Because the figures are bigger in the foreground. They're painted with more detail. That's where the action in the scene is. And so our attention is drawn to the foreground. So in meditation, all we're doing is doing a shift where the foreground, our attention or focus on the foreground recedes. Let me get my hand straight here. Whoops, this is in reverse, but the background becomes more evident. So we're not trying to search for something or find something in meditation. It's just a shift in focus. And in fact, it's impossible to find what we're looking for, that core and center, because you can't find what you've never lost. So in this analogy, in this metaphor, obviously the background is our core, our center, our source. The foreground are what's happening, our thoughts, our actions, our feelings, our bodily sensations, which capture our attention. So we're just looking for a shift in focus here. Second thing is you can't do this wrong. So for those of you who have type A personalities and judge your performance in whatever you're doing, there's no need to do that because it's impossible. It's impossible to do this wrong. You know, another thing about meditation, some people say, oh, yeah, I don't have a personality suited to meditation, or that's not for me. The only thing you need to meditate is an interest in meditation. And obviously you have an interest because you're here this morning. It's like poker. Money is the currency. If you have money, you can sit at a poker table with the greatest poker players and poker stars in the world. You don't even have to speak the language. If you have the money, you can sit down and play. If you have an interest in meditate, you can meditate and you will meditate. Well, I invite you to meditate today. Okay, let me give you a little bit of practicality about what we're going to do so you have a framework here. We have a 1-hour webinar. We're going to save about 10 minutes at the end for questions and answers. Now, we can go over. I will stay as long as you want. If you have to leave after the hour, that's fine. But if you're able to stay, we'll stay and answer every question. If you have a question and you're not able to ask it, feel free to call me or email me after the seminar and we can address that. You can see me. I can't see you, so if you're still in your PJs, that's fine. You can ask questions if you have about questions. If you have a technical question, then there's a chat icon and you can post something in the chat icon, connectivity problem, volume problem, just Will monitors the chat and he can address those. If you have a question for me, you can either submit it in writing under the Q&A, or there's a hand icon. Now, the hand icon is if you would like to ask your question verbally, and we'll unmute you and put you on. And if you want to be seen, that's fine. I'll be happy to see you ask your question as well if you choose. So those are the methods for asking questions. Now, the attendees, by the way, can't see or hear each other. Just one suggestion about questions. I would not do them during the meditations. What we're going to do is have 3 distinct meditations, each about maybe 6-7 minutes long. So you're not going to be asked to sit and meditate for an extended period of time. So if you want to formulate your questions, I would do it in between rather than during the meditations. The meditations will have some instructions in them. This is a CLE seminar. So for those of you from Florida and Oregon where we are accredited, I will email you the recording. Everyone will receive a recording of this webinar, and we'll have the course numbers so you can register for your or apply and obtain your CLE in those states. If you're from a state that we are not accredited, I know many states have provisions like Florida does, which will permit you credit from a course, CLE course certified in another state. So you can try that, and if you have any problem with that, I'm happy to assist. Okay, now, I hope you've chosen a place without distractions, because it's easier to get into meditation if you're not distracted. So if you're at your office, please mute your phone. If you have an assistant, ask them to hold your calls. If you plan to have your lunch or breakfast during this time, my suggestion is take that big sub sandwich, that hoagie, put it aside, have it after we're done. If you're home, pick a quiet spot. Yeah, if there's some distraction, that's fine. I'm just saying be practical to minimize the distractions if you have the ability to do that. Now, for the physical posture of meditating, I advise sitting in a comfortable position, your head up, your shoulders instead of up, your shoulders down and relaxed. You can put your hands on your lap or wherever they're comfortable by your side. You can cross your hands if you'd like. And I advise that you close your eyes. There's nothing mystical, special about these things. It's just very practical. If you can meditate lying down, but because our body associates sleep with lying down, you tend to doze off. Also, if you have your eyes open, you can meditate, but we have the visual distraction. So today, that's my recommendation. Be seated up comfortably and have your eyes closed during the meditation. Also, you want to be relaxed, have a relaxed attention. What does that mean? It means if you're trying too hard, you might tend to become a little tense or agitated. It's kind of like over-focusing a camera. Under-focusing is if you're tired, slothful, and you tend to doze off. So you want that sweet spot where things are clear, where you're relaxed and attentive. So why do we meditate? I'm not going to go into great length about that. The Florida Bar had an issue in the Florida Bar Journal a couple years ago, a whole issue on the benefits of meditation. We know we're in a very stressful profession. I litigated for many, many years. I litigated the right to die cases. That was my specialty. I litigated the Terri Schiavo right to die case for 8 years, in which we were in numerous courts at the same time. We had briefing schedules, especially at the end of the case. We were up and down the federal court system, where an answer brief was due at 2 p.m. The initial brief was due at 2 in the afternoon, and the answer brief was due at 8 p.m. And the reply was due at 2 a.m. and we get a decision the next day, and 2 hours to submit a motion for rehearing, and then another appeal. We did this day after day. And meditation was a tremendous asset to me. That's why I'm doing this, because it works. It certainly works for me. It was a way to remain centered, to deal with that stress in a way where it just didn't become so debilitating from a physical or emotional or mental point of view. So it works for me. I hope it works for you. And so let's give that a try. There's an old saying, you don't dig the well when the house is on fire. It's a little too late to get the water. So having this as an asset, a meditation practice as an asset at your disposal, so it's here when you need it, and not just for work, of course. Life brings illness and death. It's inevitable, these challenges. To have this as a resource is a tremendous benefit. So it's your time. This is your time. Make the most of it. And also trust your experience. Whatever you've heard about meditation, whatever I've said about it, ma'am, just the facts, please. Trust your own experience and see what it says to you. Okay, we're going to start with a body centering relaxation. So sit in a comfortable position. Have the shoulders relaxed. Your eyes closed. And just for a moment, notice the silence. The absence of sound. You may notice your breathing. It may be deep, it may be shallow. You may feel the muscles of the abdomen pushing the diaphragm out. You may feel your heart beating. You're just noticing. There's nothing to do. There is nowhere to go right now. Feel the sensation of the soles of the feet against the floor or your shoe. Notice how easy it is just to shift that focus. You may feel a pressure, a tingling on the soles of the feet. You may notice the sensation morphs a little bit, it changes. Again, you're not trying to make it into anything. It's just there. Feel the pressure of your bottom against the chair, the back of your thighs against the chair, the weight sinking into the chair. Is it a pulsating sensation? Does the pressure feel heavier on one spot, lighter than another spot? You may hear the sound of the air conditioning system floating by. It may have a rhythmic pulsating sound. If you have any thoughts, they just may come and go. They're just like the sensations, the sounds. They seem to appear out of nowhere. They're there and then they disappear. Feel the sensation of the air against the back of your hands. Does it feel slightly cool? Again, we're not trying to change anything or do anything. And then when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. I always find it interesting that in how, that was 5 minutes, I believe, how just in 5 minutes, you can relax on sometimes a very profound and deep level. So when I thought about presenting this case, that's a lawyer for you, presenting this webinar, a word kept popping up, and that word was authenticity. So I'll define authenticity this way. It's acting from that core, that center, that source. And in a way, we know when we do that, we do our best, and ultimately we can't go wrong. Now, sometimes you say, well, gee, I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what decision to make. You know, from where is that originating? But just the intention to say, do, and act from your core is all we need. That's good enough. So why do we value that authenticity? Well, because number one, I know with juries have a collective wisdom. They know that when they're being fed a line. They know when you're talking honestly to them, and they know when you're not. You don't need somebody to knock on your door and say, if you only buy this ticket, you have a 1 in 2 chance of winning $1 million. We sense, we feel, we know from others whether they're being real, whether they're being authentic with us. And one reason that we know that is that we are so intimately familiar with our own inauthenticity. So part of that authenticity is, and why we value it, is it's because it stems from the truth. It arises It arises from the truth. And being who you are, acting from that truth, provides a great comfort, rest, relaxation, because you don't have to do anything to be who you are. You don't have to expend any energy to be who you are. You don't have to fake anything. And the opposite of acting authentically is being in pretense or pretending. And I like to call pretense the preamble to tension. And why is it a preamble to tension? Because when we're faking it, you have to expend more energy to pretend to be what you're not. And you have this fear and anxiety of being discovered. Oh my God, if they only knew, I'm not as smart as I pretend to be. If they only knew that I'm not as nice and kind as I like to project myself to be. Oh my. We all do that to some degree, of course. And it creates a stress and strain. So there's an ease of being in being yourself. Now, that's not to say we don't play roles. Of course, there's your mother and father or parent or child, advocate. We play a lot of roles. But we learn as an attorney not to identify with our clients. And the more you meditate, you learn, you play a role, you have fun with it, but you don't become it. You don't believe. Identify means I am that. I am not the role I am playing. So in our society, we value that authenticity, that truth. As Polonius said to Laertes in Hamlet, to thy own self be true. And in common parlance, we might say, get real. So what is real? So here's a couple definitions. One is that which cannot not exist, that which always exists. And the other is that which doesn't change. So in our next meditation, we are going to explore that which doesn't change. And in order to do that, we're going to look at the things that do change. And in order to catch a thief, you have to think like a thief. So what is it that changes? Here are the three things that comprise our experience. There's bodily sensations. Well, my stomach is rumbling, my head hurts, I have, a pleasurable sensation of whatever it is. Those are all bodily sensations. Then we have sense perceptions, of course. We have what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch, the information that the senses bring into us, and then we have our thoughts. And the thoughts are kind of, you might call them subtle sense perceptions. Our thoughts are in the form of vision. We have, we can think of a time at the beach, so our thoughts are visual. Our thoughts can be oral, somebody talking to us, our own voice talking to us. We can have a thought of a smell, of a touch. So you can even call thoughts your subtle sense perceptions. But these are the only three things that are these are the only three things that you experience. And if anyone, we have a prize, we have a long-standing prize. If somebody can mention anything that they experience other than a thought, sense perception, or bodily sensation, you will win that prize. So in our next meditation, we're going to take a look at those. So, okay, we're about halfway in. You're doing great, by the way. So just roll your shoulders a little bit, front, back. If you want to raise your arms and stretch a bit, that's good. Okay. Scrunch your shoulders up, just let them drop. You can do that a couple times. Okay. Again, close your eyes. Sit straight up. Kind of sink into that relaxed attention. Might take a second and feel the feet against the floor, the bottom against the seat, the coolness against your skin. You may hear a sound from outside, maybe a truck on the street from far away. That's a sense perception. The sensation of my breath, the abdomen, the feeling of my abdomen going in and out, that's a bodily sensation. If you hear yourself saying to yourself, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, why did I ever take this webinar? That's a thought. The sound of my voice, sense perception. The sensation of the tiny muscles around my eyes, bodily sensation. Just allow them to come and go, as if you are the space in which they occur. The sound of my voice. It appears, it's there, and then it disappears. The sound I hear. Where was it before? It's here, it disappears. Just notice how all of these objects are ever changing. They're constantly moving, morphing, changing, coming, going. They're like clouds in the sky. They come, they're here, they go. They're constantly changing shape. But the sky holds them all. So imagine you're the sky. Does it make a difference to the sky what shape the cloud is? Does it make a difference if you like the thought or dislike the thought you may have? It's just a thought, it's just a cloud. It makes no difference to the sky. My words, sound, sense perception. The picture of the sky and clouds you may be visualizing, a thought. But what is it that holds these thoughts, sense perceptions, bodily sensations? Does it make a difference to the sky whether the cloud has lightning and is dark and is tumultuous, as opposed to being fluffy and white? Allow yourself to be the expansive sky, holding the space, being the space in which all these thoughts, sense perceptions, and bodily sensations arise and exist and disappear. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. So in that meditation, we saw how transient the objects of our experience are. And we started to shift our focus there to the background, that which holds them, that background from which they arise. They exist and then they fall away. So that background, that center, that core, we'll give the name awareness. Because you got to call it something. How could we talk about it if we didn't give it a name? They were asking fifth graders questions about the sciences, and they asked a fifth grader, what is a vacuum? And he said, a vacuum is nothing, but we give it a name so it knows that we know it's there. That kid has a bright future. So we're going to give it a name, awareness. So let me give you some tips on how to investigate, how to encounter this awareness, this core, this center. Well, we know it's not an object because it's not like those objects that come and go, the background on which they appear. So here's a couple tips. One is to adopt a posture of non-interference. And so what do I mean by non-interference? Non-interference is what we do when any object appears. It may be a thought. Well, sometimes we like the thought. We don't like the thought. So there's like and dislike. We comment on it. We have a sensation, or a sense perception. And well, it's this or that, or it could be this, or it could be that, or I'm not sure it's this, I'm not sure it's that. We're commenting it. We have a running commentary on just about everything we see, do, and hear. There's judgment. There's projection into the future. There's looking into the past. These are all ways of, I would say, kind of interfering with what's happening. Now, this is not to say that, of course, judgment, discrimination, of course you use your mind when appropriate, but a lot of the times it's just this running commentary that serves no useful purpose. So you could say, well, how can I ever not practice non-interference? And the only thing you have to do is notice it. Okay? All you have to do is notice the non-interference. Well, if you're judging, yeah, that's judging. Oh, I'm projecting into the future. Oh, that's projecting. Oh, I'm remembering in the past. That's remembering. There's nothing you need to do to remedying it. It's the noticing it takes the juice out of it. The fighting with it pours fuel on the fire. Now, there's a lot I'm saying. This is, you know, years of meditation, and a lot is happening in this seminar. So don't worry about, oh, I got to remember this and I got to think of this. You can listen to it again. It's sinking in there on some level. But there's non-interference. But what happens? This is what happens when you just sit back and let things happen rather than interfere with them. And that is, whoops. This is what happens. If you look at these jars, this is kind of our mind most of the time. But through meditation, where we begin to rest more in our background, our source and core, and we don't agitate, we're not constantly agitating these objects, then we're not getting rid of them, that they fall. And it creates a sediment, and we have clear viewing. So that's one thing, non-interference. The other thing that I would suggest is just a welcoming, an attitude of welcoming. So what does that mean? If you have put a blue vase in front of a mirror, the mirror reflects a blue vase. If you put a pink vase in front of the mirror doesn't say, I don't like pink, I'm not going to reflect it. Well, it reflects it anyway. The mirror just reflects whatever is put in front of it. That's a sense of welcoming. Another analogy is like a flat screen TV. You ever notice when you're watching TV, you don't see the screen when the picture's on, you're so captivated in the foreground, captivated with the picture. But the picture is just part of the screen. We tend to see the screen when the picture's not on. But from the point of view of the screen, does it make a difference whether there's a romantic, beautiful love scene or megatons of bombs being dropped and destroying a city? No, there's no difference to the screen. So there's a kind of a benign indifference, a welcoming. So in this meditation, again, don't worry, I'm saying a lot here. In this next meditation, we're going to explore that awareness, that core, that source. And so just take what we have and let's do it. Okay, you guys are doing great. Can I even say, guys, all of you participants are doing great. And let's do our last meditation. Okay, sit up. Again, relax into the body. You might feel your breath a moment. You might hear a sound, just a sense perception. And again, be the screen, be the sky, be the space. Be the awareness. There is nothing you have to do, no effort whatsoever to be aware. You are aware. Allow yourself to notice the background, to be the background. We're not trying to get rid of any objects that may be coming and going, but we really are not concerned with them. Now, if you hear a sound, where are you aware of that sound? Look, is there any particular place to which the awareness of that sound is located? Now feel the sensation of your feet against the floor. Can you find a particular place where the awareness is aware of that sensation? Is there a little box or compartment for the awareness of sounds or sense perceptions? And another little box or compartment where there's awareness of bodily sensations or thoughts? Or are all those phenomena subject to awareness, or is your awareness the same for all of them? Notice how there's no separate place where thoughts are known, or sounds are known, or sensations are known. Is awareness located anywhere? Is there a border, a line you can go to, a fence, where there's awareness on one side, but there's no awareness on the other side? Just look for a moment. Is there any place that awareness doesn't exist? So see for yourself that it's unlocal, that it's infinite from your own experience right now. If you have a thought, well, I don't know about that, that's just a thought arising in awareness, existing and passing away. Now ask yourself, does this awareness have a shape, a form? Does it have a dimension? Or is it shapeless? Is it formless? Does it have a color? Is it red or blue, pink, gray? Of course, the objects that appear in it are hued, have shape and form and color. But that which is aware, does it have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a form? Does this awareness have a religious persuasion? Is it Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Jewish? Wiccan? Is there any attribute from the world of objects and dimensions that we can place or see or find in this awareness? So be that awareness. Knowingly recognize that center, that core, that source, that awareness. Does this awareness have a gender? Is it male, female, non-gender? Does gender even touch this awareness? Does it have the attribute of any gender or non-gender? And ask yourself, is this awareness subject to time? Has there ever been a time from your own direct experience where you can say this awareness did not exist? So let's take just a few more moments in silence. And enjoy the peace, the silence, the vitality of this awareness. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Before we take our questions, I just want to make a couple of final comments so those who may have to leave early will hear those comments, and then we'll go right to the questions. And again, we'll stay as long as there are questions. My advice to you is to do this on a daily basis, to meditate on a daily basis for 30 days, even if it's only 10 minutes a day, and see what happens in your life after 30 days of doing this. Now, if you say, gee, I don't know if I can do this myself, we do have I believe on our YouTube channel, a guided meditation, which are very similar to the 3 meditations we did today, but without any commentary in between. So I think the whole thing runs about 15 minutes, so you can pick do 2 or 3 of them if you need a little help or assistance on your own. Again, you can contact me with any questions. Also on our website, meditationforlawyers.org, there's an article about meditation. There also is a section with questions and answers of some very common questions that are asked about meditation are answered on the website. This entitles you to 1 CLE credit. We are authorized or accredited for up to 3 credits. So if you'd like to take it again in the future, please do. If you're a member of an organization, a state attorney's office, and we have a couple guests with us from the Palm Beach County, Florida State Attorney's Office, Public Defender's Office, governmental office, large organization where you're especially understaffed and under a lot of pressure, please let us know. We'd be happy to give you present a seminar just for your organization. Again, this is being recorded. You'll receive the recording. And so thank you very much. And let's go to questions. Let me press the button. Will, I think we have a couple of questions here.
Yes, we do in the Q&A section. Are you seeing that?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Robert asks, would it be possible to get a screenshot of those 3 jars of water with the sediment at the end of the seminar? Yes, for sure. Will, do you think you could send that to Robert?
Sure, no problem.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. And I have to, I'm going to compliment Will because I said, gee, find a picture of 3 jars with the sediment settling, and he did a great job. Okay, Amber asks, can you state the name of the webinar you suggested at the beginning of the presentation? Yes, that webinar we gave last month, end of May, and it's called Staying Centered in Challenging Times. Is that right, Will? I believe that's the name, the correct name?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Right, and it's on our YouTube channel. Will, if it's not on our website, can you add it to our website as well?
Yeah, everyone can just go to meditationforlawyers.org/videos and they should see it.
Oh, okay, great, super. Ross asks, do you use Headspace or Calm? Those, I gather, are internet meditation apps. Is that correct?
Those are apps you can use on your phone that are quite popular.
Yeah. I've never used them, but perhaps that's just because I'm still in the stone wheel age. But I've never used them. But as Will said, that they are popular. Let me just expand this answer a little bit. You want to find what works for you. If you find a particular website, a particular meditation teacher really works for you, then go for it. Remember, the primary motivating factor here is interest. You don't want to do anything rotely or by routine. You want to do it where you have that interest, where you have that drive. So if a particular website or meditation app does that, then I would suggest that you take advantage of that. Okay. David asks, is the goal of the type of meditation you showed us to empty the mind and be in the present moment? I would say that's not the goal, to empty the mind. I would say yes, to be in the present moment, to the extent that we mean the present moment is a direct recognition of awareness, your source, your core. I mean, you can't not be in the present moment. You know, there is no past, there is no future. They're all thoughts. I mean, the past is just thought forms that are occurring in the present moment, as is the future. So in reality, there is no future, there is no past. You can't not be in the present moment. The background always exists in the painting, even if you don't see it. So it's a matter of recognition. Now, yes, there is a value to slowing down the contents of the mind, which we said are the thoughts and the sense perceptions and the bodily sensations. There is a benefit to slowing it down, because if you're not used to the background, if you don't recognize it, thinning out the foreground allows you to see the background a little bit easier. But that's a method along the path. The goal here is, no matter what you're thinking, no matter what you're feeling, whether you're feeling peaceful, whether you're feeling agitated, whatever is happening in the body and mind, you're rooted in that center. Something that comes to mind, and that is, you know, those blow up dolls that you have, and it's usually somebody they have a painted face, and it's usually somebody you don't like, and you hit them and they knock over, but they have this sand or weight on the bottom, so it just springs back. So it's not like, oh, you know, I'm never going to be angry again, I'm never going to be affected by this, I'm not going to be confused or frustrated or something like that. But the more you're rooted in that core, that center, yeah, you get knocked over, but you spring right back because you're not disturbed from your core. So the goal of meditation is not to slow or stop the mind. I would say that's a useful technique in the beginning to help you be able to kind of thin out the foreground so you can see the background a little easier. Okay. Robert asks, how can we begin to approach life outside of meditation with the same calmness and awareness that we experience while sitting? Things seem to fall apart quickly for me once practice has ended and become overwhelmed with issues and problems. I think I answered that question to some extent for David. And I think it's an important thing to recognize that if we expect the body-mind biocomputer mechanism never to feel pain, never to feel sadness, and not to be angry, and not to be overwhelmed, that will never happen. And if you believe that meditation or any spiritual practice is going to result in that, then you're going to be eternally frustrated. It's just the nature in the physical realm. You know, the body is, like other things, degrades and dies, etc. So I think it's important to, number one, keep that in mind. And I go back to what I said at the beginning, is that the cognizance of the background, the direct encountering of the background, provides a peace that is not conditioned on external events. So I know, for instance, going into court, when I started meditating, I said to myself, wow, I'm going to court today. I'm not going to be nervous. I'm not going to be a little tense. And I went to court and I was nervous and tense, or at least going in. But the more I did it, at the same time, you can be nervous and butterflies. At the same time, you can feel the peace of the background. It never leaves you. And Robert, I encourage you that the more you meditate, the more that exists, and the more it's present. And the more it's present, the less you're going to have of the wobbling, But if you have an expectation and belief system that, gee, I'm not progressing and I'm not doing well because, gee, I still get nervous, or once in a while I get angry, then I think that is maybe leading you off in the wrong direction. Okay. Anonymous asks, any additional suggestions on how to keep judgment out of meditation as thoughts come and go and running commentary takes over? That is a really profound question, because the desire, and I'm reading Anonymous from your words, you're asking how to keep judgment out. The desire to keep judgment out is the essence of interference. The more you want to keep judgment out, the more you try to keep judgment out, the more judgment will come, and the more that judgment will be empowered. So I would say, in a true practice, a true practice of well-being is, oh, I welcome everything, but oh, here comes judgment. I really, really don't want you. You're not welcome. It's like there's a guard at the door, and judgment comes in, and you say, nope, don't want you. Oh, pleasant spiritual thought comes, oh yeah, I want you. Pleasurable body sensation, yeah, you can come in. Painful, no, I don't want you. In welcoming, we take away the guard from the gate. There is no one censoring who can come and who can go. So the first thing is to truly be open to whatever comes. So we're not trying to keep out judgment. Now, okay, but there's so much judgment, there's so much running commentary, you just can't seem to appear to do anything in your meditation. So here are some ways, very practically speaking, to help with that, which is not trying to censor or get rid of, but is accepting and welcoming. One is to say, let's say you have just recurring judgment. And you say, judgment is like that. Just the energy, just the feel of that is a aha. It's not, I don't like it, I don't want you. It's just a recognition of what is. Judgment is like that. just saying those words immediately lessens the pull, the juice in that judgment. Frustration. You sit down and you meditate and, oh my God, nothing's going right. Frustration is like that. Yeah, okay, I see that there's the frustration here, the frustration. This is what frustration is like. So that's a type of easy welcoming and acceptance. Just an acknowledgement that it's there, and okay, this is what it's like. Here's another thing. And we did this a little bit in the meditation. You can ask yourself, who is aware of the judgment or the running commentary? Well, reflexively, you may say, I am. Well, I am are just words that you're saying. But if you really look and say, okay, there's a judgment, which is a thought. A judgment is a thought form. What is aware of the thought? That immediately creates space and distance between the judgment and the awareness of it. Or there's a running commentary. A running commentary is thought in the form of sound. You're hearing sounds. And you can say to yourself in your meditation, who is hearing this commentary? Try to find the who that is hearing that commentary. And of course, we could say awareness is the ultimate knower of the commentary. But here's the important thing that you begin to see. Awareness is not commenting on anything. Awareness is not judging anything. That which is confused, that which knows there is confusion, is not confused itself. And so that's another way. That's another way to not fight it, not push it away, not censor it, not censor it, but use it in a way for deeper exploration. I hope some of that made sense. Okay, Frederick asks, how do I prevent myself from falling asleep when I meditate? It happens every time I go beyond 5 minutes. Is there anything I can do other than limit myself to short meditations? Okay, Frederick, I recommend that you take a look at the questions and answers on meditation for lawyers.org. There's somebody asked that exact question, but I'll give you a summary. One thing is that you may be choosing to meditate at the time of the day where you're just tired. It may be too early in the morning when you need a little bit more sleep, or it may be late at night where you're tired. So be sensitized to your body and the needs of your body, and it may be that your body is truly tired and you need that sleep. But let's say that's not the case. One way is, and I did this, I took some extended meditation retreats and would feel very tired. I would just stand up, because it's much harder to fall asleep standing up than it is sitting down. So if I thought I was nodding off, I would stand up, continue to meditate, and then after a while, sit down. Another thing is to look at the nature of tiredness. So, is it a bodily sensation? Is it just a thought? I'm tired, or I'm sleepy. Those are thoughts. Where is this bodily sensation? It's not static, it moves. Sometimes by dissecting or putting under a microscope, tired, whether it's a combination of thoughts and bodily sensations, and looking at them. Where are they located? Are they changing? Separates you from that. And what that does is stoke your interest in a way. And say, oh, after investigating the nature of fatigue or the nature of tiredness, you may find that you're not tired anymore. But anyway, I recommend the more extensive answer on our website. Anonymous asks, is awareness mindfulness? Well, I'm familiar with mindfulness meditation. For many years, I took extensive Vipassana Buddhist meditation retreats. And I would say it's different in this way. In mindfulness, there is a interest, a particular interest in the objects themselves, the nature of the objects. When do they arise? You know, what are their characteristics when they're here? How do they disappear? And you can get great insight into the nature of objects through mindfulness. But in this type of meditation, we're not particularly interested in the nature of objects. We're interested in the nature of awareness. Because objects come and go, we're interested in that which does not change, that which is the essential part of ourselves. You know, you can say that, you know, there are different hierarchies of truth. You can say, well, objects are real, sensations are real, it's happening. But the objects themselves can't exist without awareness, whereas awareness can exist without the objects. So we're interested in that part of us which doesn't change. And so I would answer it that way, that I got a lot out of mindfulness meditation, but for me, the ultimately more rewarding experience was when I shifted my attention from the exploration of objects to the direct knowing of awareness or source or core. So I think that does it for the questions and answers. Again, I want to thank you very much. It's a deep privilege and honor for me to help you in any little way that I can through these seminars. And again, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to give me a call, send me an email. I'm happy to talk with you. So take care, and we'll go ahead and end it.